Hi, good day, everyone. Today's another episode of Things to Avoid. Let's get to it. Now, today our focus is one very important thing to avoid, which is connecting your savings and checking account. You should avoid connecting your savings and checking account. These are two different types of accounts. The checking account is used for accessing your money on a daily basis for daily use. So for instance, for purchasing lunch, groceries, anything that you need to do on a daily basis, paying bills, and so on. So it's primarily for use accessing your money on a daily basis. Your savings account, on the other hand, is primarily for saving money. And we expect that as time progresses every month, if you're actually working a job, every month you should be getting this money accumulated in your savings account. You should be seeing the amount of money accumulating and increasing. And if you want to build up your savings via that savings account, it's not a good idea to connect it to your checking account. And the reason being, if you are accessing your checking account every day or every week, it depends on how disciplined you are with your money. If you access it every day, and if at a point in time the balance in that checking account goes down to zero or to a very low value, that you cannot access funds anymore to sustain your day-to-day expenditure, then you may end up, because these two accounts are connected, accessing your savings via your savings account. And therefore you would have been targeting two different accounts. So you should ensure that you do not have your savings and checking account ever connected. To go even further, I would say you shouldn't even have a debit card attached to your savings account. If you have a debit card attached to your savings account, it's very accessible. The money in there is very accessible, and this is what we do not want. The only account that should have a debit card attached to it should be your checking account, because it's needed for your day-to-day expenditure. So that's two things not to do. You should avoid connecting your savings account to your checking account, and you should avoid having a debit card attached to your savings account. So let's go to some questions that viewers sent in for me. The first question is, should I use a savings account for spending? And as I just said, a savings account is primarily for savings. Spending should happen from your checking account. So the answer to that question, you should not use a savings account for spending purposes. That's the first question. Let's go to the second question. Should I send salary to a savings account? It's not a problem sending salary to a spending account, savings account. Just make sure that if it happens through standard order, is a standard order you set up to have that money go to the account, there is no debit card connected to the account. As a matter of fact, if you have your head office sending money through salary reduction to your savings account, you should actually set up a standing order from your bank, which will transfer money from that savings account to a checking account, which you could use now to spend. There should be no means of you actually deducting or withdrawing money from that account manually. And I say, if you cannot have that kind of discipline, then you should avoid sending your salary to your savings account. Use a checking account. But if you have to use your savings account, ensure that money from your employer comes to that savings account, and you have a standing order set up to transfer money from that savings account to a checking account, which you could access using a debit card. But in any event, you should avoid ensuring that you have any direct connection to that savings account. Otherwise, you're going to be spending your savings. Third question, should I have a debit card attached to my savings account? Well, I just spoke about that. You should avoid having a debit card connecting to your savings account because it's just going to be easy for you to just access the money. You should have everything set up so that it's very difficult for you to access your savings unless you really need to access it. Then you'll go through that effort. So if it's even as far as to have your savings account be located far away from where you actually live and operate, then that's going to be a good idea. So those are 3 questions I told you about checking and saving account, and I also answered 3 questions from the viewers. So I hope this was beneficial to you all, and I'll see you all on the next one.